Procrastination, one of the great Achilles heels of young men in 2022. If you didn't procrastinate, how much further could you be in life right now? How much closer could you be to your goals, to your dream life? Right? If you're someone like me who's been on self-improvement for a while, or you've thought about getting on self-improvement for a while, I'm pretty sure there's a significant portion of you guys who are like that. You know, you're talking like years at this point. It could be like 5 years. How much different could your life be if you didn't procrastinate? I'm sure you think about that like regularly. Right? Procrastination, it just kills you. Like you want to do so many things and you just end up procrastinating. Now I'm going to give you 5 tips on how to beat procrastination in this video. Right? And you can actually start making significant progress on all your goals. So the first tip I can give you is your environment. Right? I'm sure you've heard it before. Clear out your environment. Like turn off your phone if you're not using your phone to do anything, and most of you guys are not. If you're just like studying or you're just doing work where you're writing down, you don't need your phone. Get it out the room, turn it off, put it on the other side of the room. Turn off notifications. You don't need like all these notifications. You don't need Instagram notifications. You don't need TikTok notifications, Snapchat notifications, whatever. You don't need any of those notifications, right? Maybe you want to keep like your WhatsApp or Messenger notifications on for whatever reason. But you don't need other notifications. You don't need them distracting you, because you know what happens? They've done studies, like the amount of time it takes for you to focus, right? It usually takes you about 15 minutes, right? So what they've seen is that you can focus productively for about 1.5 hours, like proper deep focus where you're working at like when you're firing on all cylinders. It takes you about 15 minutes to get into that mental state where you're focused. But if you get one notification and you look at your phone like this, it's gone. Like you need to start again. Like you quickly lose focus, and it takes you like 5 more minutes just to get back into that state. So stop. Like you don't realize it. It's kind of like you think, oh, it's just 2 seconds. You know, it's just like 5 or 10 seconds. But then you're spending like the next 2 minutes thinking about that message you just saw or whatever. And that's if you don't get on your phone and you like go into Instagram. You just like seeing like a notification, and then you're scrolling. That's if you're not doing that, right? And if you're not doing that, you're still gonna struggle. You're still gonna take a lot of time to like get focused again. So clear out your environment. Your phone is like your biggest problem. Get rid of it. And also just make your environment tidy, right? Like you want to make it conducive to focus. You want to make it as easy as possible for your brain to focus. So you want to clear out your desk. You don't need like unnecessary stuff on your desk and all this. So just keep your environment clean so you can focus properly. Right. Okay. So the second tip is just tell yourself you need to do it for 5 minutes, because you might notice that maybe you've tried this before and you sit down and you're like, oh man, I don't want to study for like the next 2 hours or whatever. Give yourself like, just tell yourself 5 minutes to just sit down and do it. I'm sure you've heard this before when you're trying to get like gym motivation, and it's like, if you don't have to go in for like the 1.5 hour, like the hectic leg day session, you just go in there and stretch for 5 minutes. And what you will notice is that, especially if you're waking up early in the morning, the biggest obstacle is like you're thinking you're going to be there for so long. But if you tell yourself, I'm just going to go in there for 5 minutes and just do like a quick, I don't know, push-up workout or whatever. What you notice is once you're there, after this 5 minutes, you're already in there. Like you want to do like the proper thing. But the problem with this trick is that like you know that you want to do the full 1.5 hours of like gym. So you're not going to look at the 5 minutes. But like if you can really like try convince yourself, like I literally only have to do 5 minutes and then I can leave. In fact, I would implore you to, if you want this trick to like really work, the first time you do it, literally like do 5 minutes, and even if you feel like doing the workout afterwards, just like cut it off, like go back and do whatever, so that your brain, so you know that you don't have to do like the 1.5 hours, right? Do you get what I mean? Like if you tell yourself I'm only gonna do it for 5 minutes, you know you're aiming to be there for like 90 minutes. So your brain knows that. So you want to sort of like break that. That's like a little trick I can give you. But if you tell yourself I'm just gonna sit down and like work for 5 minutes, again, like you're not just gonna sit down and work for 5 minutes, but just convincing yourself to just sit down for 5 minutes, it helps a lot. Okay, so the third tip I learned is, I heard this like about a month ago, and it was like one of the fresh things I've heard, because I listened to like a lot of things, and a lot of the things are just the same things over and over again. This was one thing I haven't heard, which is sit down, right? When you don't feel like doing it, you can tell yourself you don't have to do it, but you can't do anything else, right? So the big problem is that usually when you're sitting down, you're like, you know that, you could be watching TV, Netflix, you could be scrolling on Instagram, whatever, and that's why you don't want to like work. But if you tell yourself like I don't have to work, I can just sit here on my desk, but I can't do anything else. You'll get so bored that you'll just end up doing it. But again, the problem is like implementing this, convincing yourself that you're not going to do anything else. But just do it, okay? Just don't tell yourself I'm not going to be able to do anything else. I can just sit here and just do nothing, and you realize it's like I'd rather do the work. It's a bit more fun, and that leads me on to like the fourth step, which is you want to make yourself bored. The reason you procrastinate is because what you're doing is less interesting than what else you could be doing, right? What you're doing is like way less interesting than going on your phone and doing other things. There's way more interesting things to do, and that's why you don't want to do like the procrastination, because it's like at the bottom. If there's a tier list of like exciting things you want to do, doing work is like at the bottom. So you want to make yourself bored, and ways you can do this, and something I've been trying to implement all year. Like you want to like do it gradually. You want to do things like, maybe instead of like listening to music like all the time, say you listen to music like when you're walking, maybe change it up and listen to an audiobook, right? Like instead of like watching like Netflix or whatever when you're eating, again, like listen to an audiobook, maybe read a book, that sort of thing. Instead of like playing video games when you have like a break, especially like if you have breaks, like study breaks, don't go on your phone, don't go play video games, because what's happening is, say if we're gonna like show like the dopamine levels, right? When you're working, like it's like pretty low, it's like low here, and then you've got your break. It's a 30-minute break or whatever it is, but you've gone on your phone or you've gone onto video games, and now the excitement is here. Now to work, you need to get back down here, and it's not exciting anymore. Like it makes it way harder to actually like do the work. So you don't want to do that in between your breaks, but just in general, you want to like limit the instant gratification, the stimulation you're giving yourself. Like you just want to lower that baseline dopamine level, right? The things that you find fun. Like you don't want to just go and do like the instant gratification things that like give you like so much dopamine, because now it's going to become more difficult to like stay at that level. And now doing something like working is just it's so much more boring, right? So that's what I'm saying for. You want to like make yourself bored just in general, so that something like work is a bit more fun. And that's kind of like the trick with procrastination. Like the only reason you don't want to do the work is because there's something more interesting to do, and you want to lower that. You want to like get rid of that. You want to make work slightly more interesting. And it leads me to like the fifth step, right? Which is, this is something you want to implement. If you can implement this, you'll succeed in like all areas of your life. This is like the main thing you should be focusing on. This is like what makes millionaires, like top athletes, what they are. Like they're intrinsically motivated. You've heard this before. You've probably like ignored it or whatever. But your why. Like you've been told plenty of times, find your why. There's a reason for this. It's like it's a driving factor, right? When you wake up in the morning, you're not convincing yourself, should I wake up or should I go back to sleep? Should I go do the workout or should I go back to sleep? You know exactly what you need to do. Like you've got that burning desire, and I'm not talking about like just like feeling like motivated for like a couple of days and then it's over. I'm talking about something more long term. Like usually this has to do with like other people. Like you'll hear like millionaires will be like, I saw my mom like bust, like really working hard for so long and just struggling to put food on the table, and like that like gave me this burning desire to work, and I just love working. Obviously a lot of us don't have that, and this is where it gets tricky, because in this day and age a lot of us are living in like 2-parent households. Maybe you're living in a 1-parent household, but you live in like decent, like you don't have any, you didn't grow up in poverty, right? So you're gonna struggle to get that burning desire, and that's something you need to like dig deep in yourself. Like you seriously need to spend like a long time thinking about it, like a couple weeks, couple months, until you find it. Because like when you do find that thing, that's what's gonna keep you going, because you want to give yourself a reason to choose like working over going and scrolling on your phone, right? And this is the same thing that I was saying on my video last week about NoFap. Like you want to get to that golden point where you're not thinking about it, right? You're not like having to install porn blockers, or you're not having to like delete YouTube and Instagram and that sort of thing, because that's never gonna work, because you're forcing yourself. You don't want to force yourself to not do it. You just want to not want to do it, right? You want to have like YouTube, Instagram, and everything there, and just be like, I don't want to go on it. Like I'd much rather study for this reason or that reason. And you want to give yourself that reason. And if you do that, like everything else becomes easier, because it changes from fighting like an uphill battle to you're like going down the mountain and you're like just pushing. Imagine yourself pushing a boulder, and when you're like in the mentality where you're having to install porn blockers and whatever and like stop yourself or like delete Instagram, just imagine you're pushing the boulder up a hill, like it's an uphill battle. And the moment you like say you're pushing it up and there's like a rock there or whatever, and you have to like find like extra strength to push it over, right? Like it's really, really difficult. Whereas if you're going downhill, like the boulder is moving with you. It's like way easier. You're moving with momentum, right? And if there's like a little obstacle, it's just gonna bounce over it because you've got so much momentum. And that's exactly how it is when you've got like that intrinsic motivation. You've got like that why. And it's not like the sexy answer. It's quite boring. Oh, find your why. You've heard that like a million times. But do it. That is, if you're gonna focus on one thing that will solve all your self-improvement problems, it's that. You want to give yourself like a reason that's above everything else that will get you to actually do the work. That's how you beat procrastination. That's like the golden rule, basically. If you can solve that, you'll solve all your problems. And yeah, that's basically the video, guys. You guys let me know in the comments below what video you guys want me to make next, and yeah.